Mr. Angula, thank you so much for talking to the villager today. You are contesting for the position of the vice president of the SWAPO party. First and foremost, people want to understand what makes you think that you are the man for this position.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to me and me to talk to you. Yes, I have come of age. I am experienced in managing the party affairs. I've been involved in student and youth movement in SWAPO way back in the late 60s. So I know how to handle the young people and how to get involved with the young people. Then I have been involved in the management of the SWAPO Health and Education Center in Zambia. So this is a combination of people who are former fighters, current fighters, women, elders. So I have that experience in managing people. I managed the diplomatic services. I've been in the diplomatic service for 12 years, and I've been able to negotiate deals and recognition of SWAPO in many countries, including especially support to SWAPO during the armed liberation struggle. I'm very familiar and acquainted with the former liberation fighters, that is plant fighters. I know them, I know the way they believe, and I also know the veterans as they are today existing. So I know the management of the government. I served in 6 portfolios, government portfolios. So in none of those portfolios have I come out with a mark. I did serve with excellence all those positions. That culminated, of course, in receiving one of the national award, the Brilliant Son, which is a recognition, second-class Brilliant Son, which is a recognition of my seniors, how they look at what I do. I've been involved with the party in the past 4 years or so in different categories: Secretary for Transport, Secretary for Information and Mobilization, and my work recently, I'm managing 2 major projects. One of it has come to an end successfully, the establishment of the SWAPO Party School. And this has eluded many other leaders before me, because since the beginning, or since the first SWAPO Party Congress in an independent Namibia, successive secretaries of information has been charged with establishing such a school. They could not. So I'm here to say that I've been able to. And now I'm managing very important, very complex project which is called database management to digitalize the SWAPO affairs in membership as well as economic and other business interests. So I can easily say that in the past few years, I know the inside of the party, the inner life, inner democracy. I've been involved in the documentation in the past, particularly in the drafting of parties programs, in the drafting of the party constitution, and in other many economic documents that paved way for some successful economic performance of our country.
So
I can say I can lead.
So with this resume that you're giving us, what message really are you putting across to the delegates? What's your message?
My message to the delegates is that they should not gamble with the future of the party. They should not gamble with the future of the country. They must choose proven leaders. Leaders like me, I am committed to observe discipline within the party, transparency within the party, and I can assure you that I do not believe in partiality within the party, in nepotism within the party, in selectivitism within the party. I believe in transparency, accountability, and of course, prosperity for all, not for a few.
But don't you have a feeling that the position of the vice presidency is more of a ceremonial position? How do you really see yourself affecting the change, considering that you'll be having a president on top of you, as well as a secretary general who happens to be the kingmaker, the person who does the day-to-day running of the party? Don't you see yourself more as a ceremonial leader once you get in there?
No, not at all. Actually, the head of state happened to be also the leader of SWAPO, in whatever way you can see it. So the head of state normally will look at those possibilities of having this double cup. He must behave like a father of all, and he must behave in somehow neutral in dealing with the population. The vice president of the party is not the vice president necessary of the country, so is a committed cadre to the elaboration and inside work and inner party mobilization of the party to make sure that the party is steering its course correctly. He will, of course, be an advisor and assistant to the president, but such a person has to be a person that is not a yes man, a person who's not selected in order not to in order not to sort of necessarily compete with the president for the performance, but who will be out there, not just accept what the president is saying, but advise appropriately and necessarily the right way of doing things, and who should be in touch with the structures of the party. The Secretary General of SWAPO is a very busy person. He has to manage the membership, and it's not an easy to manage the membership. He has to manage the documentation coming from the Secretariat, from the Political Bureau, and as a Secretary General, he is the actual link between the outside world and SWAPO. So he's more an administrative person who will be preparing meetings, but in the real sense of real life, you need someone in SWAPO who is on daily touch with the structures, who can mediate between conflicting interests of members, who can arrange for negotiation and peace talks between quarreling members, and who can also advise properly the top leadership how to deal with specific cases, and also shape new policies with regard to the new development of the country, whether from political, economic, and social wise.
You indicate that your message to the delegates is that not to gamble with the future of the party, but there are people out there that are saying that the messages that you guys, you politicians, are putting out there in your campaigns are not speaking to the economic demands of this new generation. What's your perspective as far as the economy is concerned, and how do you see your leadership neutralizing the conditions that we have right now?
In the past 3-4 months or so, or 3, I've issued out statements bearing on the status of the economy of the country. I've written widely on how I see the role of state-owned enterprises in terms of the employment creation, in terms of technology adaptation, in terms of preservation of labor and employment. I've talked a lot about that. Those who care to read must have read those newspapers and see the direction I'm hitting when it comes to issues pertaining to employment and job creation.
Touching on the issue of state-owned enterprises, do we see your leadership, your generation, if you are to be successful with Congress, as far as state-owned enterprises are concerned, are we going to see an end to politically motivated appointments within state-owned enterprises?
Yes, that is the aim and objective. That is, we have to be transparent, and be accountable. We have to make sure that people are appointed on the basis of the knowledge of the management of the economy, instead of picking people because they relate to you, or because they cannot face you, or because they can just say yes, yes boss, yes boss. That is the real issue that confronts us. The state-owned enterprise have a big role to play in our economy, because we are very small economy and basically owned by transnational corporations, and there are not national capitalism here that can really push the economy to the new level. And otherwise, of course, those foreign transnationals who are here, they are here opportunistically. When there is opportunity, they come. When things started to go bad, they will just leave and park, and they leave us in the in the dilemma. So it is very important, therefore, when you choose state-owned enterprise leaders, they must be tested cadres, but highly educated.
And your perspective as far as the fiscal consolidation is concerned, would you want to maintain that?
Yes, of course, it's very important to maintain fiscal consolidation, but by fiscal consolidation alone is not the alpha and omega. It's not the solution to the economy. You have to expand the economy. You have to involve the state. You have to involve the state-owned enterprises in the productivity of the country. You have to put investment in the productive sector, instead of just thinking about how to satisfy people who are crying and dish out money left and right for consumer purposes, and increase whatever you want to increase the importation of luxury goods at the expense of producing national goods that can create job, that can provide easy of access production, and also job for the skilled, the trained people, and also adapt the country to consume what they produce.
Statistics that we're getting from experts as far as the economy is concerned is that the public wage bill, which is apparently the elephant in the room, constitutes about 88% of the operational budget of government. Are we likely going to see you being part of those elements that will be pushing forward towards the reduction of the wage bill?
It has to be reduced. There is no other way. And the reduction should not be done haphazardly. It should be done with plan. The plan is that to increase the possibility and intensify the private sector. Give more possibility for the private sector, local private sector, to invest in new things, in new productivity, substitute import, so that the people can channel their investment in the national production, so that they can employ more. And then retrain the public service to be able to get involved in the manufacturing process. Because by this time, many of these people, if you give them some advances, they can be really putting up some viable businesses. But we are happy to just increase the salary, but instead of encouraging people to retire, and with the benefit of possible empowering them to create business, thus creating more opportunity for other people to get employed.
But definitely reducing the wage bill will mean that you are definitely going to be locking horns with some politicians. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, of course. As I say, I'm always transparent. I don't hide I don't lie. I don't like the idea of hiding the reality from the people in order to get elected. I always tell the people, say, this is the right way. You don't do it today, you will be responsible for the consequence that is going to come. And of course, some politicians want always to be clapped hand and more vote. That's the end of it. But solving the national problem, the national crisis, that's secondary to them, as long as they are there. But that's not the way forward. The way forward is to tell the nation the truth, how to go about, how to solve the problem. But work with the nation. Don't plan by alone. Negotiate, talk to the people, find out what will be they thinking is the best solution to arrive at a solution for the problem. Problem solution. So that's the way forward.
Mr. Angula, are you comfortable with the fact that there hasn't been any single region that has come to endorse Team SWAPO? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, there's never been endorsement in the history of SWAPO. That's innovation, which is illegal and unconstitutional. Our constitution provides for a secret ballot. That there's nothing else. When you say one candidate endorsement, you mean that there will be no secret ballot. Now people are voting publicly because you are saying who's endorsing. That's a public vote. That is not allowable in our constitution. So that other countries are doing it. When you rally here and there, constituents are being asked, wings are being asked, hey, who's endorsing? Oh, all of us endorse. Because now all those people are raising hands. They are not endorsing. They don't want to be looked off as they are not. They are opposed to endorsement because they will lose their bread. So we are saying that this is not on. This is unswapable. It never happened before. And it should not happen because it's unconstitutional.
So in other words, are you saying that it's another way of rigging?
Completely. This is also not a clever rigging. This is the lowest level of rigging elections. Because what do you want to do with open vote? Suppose now you fail, you don't make it. Are you going to say other people must have rigged it because you have been endorsed by the whole, all the regions, and the vote will come out negatively? What will tell the people, the world? How were you endorsed and not achieve what you have done? Of course, you come up and said the election must have been rigged because I was endorsed by everybody. So this is unconstitutional, unswapable, and will not be allowed to continue like that. Everybody knows that we have never been heading a campaign for endorsement. We have never have a sole candidate things because there are already a number of candidates for each post. There's no one candidate. Central Committee approved all those candidates. For the presidency, 3 candidates. Now how can you say endorse one candidate and sole candidate? We are going to the election. We are going to the secret ballot. So whom are you telling? Whom are you lying? Whom are you fooling to say that there's only one sole candidate? Yet the Central Committee, the political or the Central Committee approved 3 candidates for the presidency. And for the vice president, approved 3 candidates. And for the Secretary General, approved 2 candidates. And for the Deputy Secretary General, approved 3 candidates. You cannot tell lies that there is one sole candidate. It's not on.
What is wrong with the idea of one center of power?
Well, we never say there is wrong with one center of power, because that center of power is SWAPO party. Before you go to national election, you have to be elected and mandated by the SWAPO party. There is no way that a SWAPO member will be allowed to go and stand as an independent presidential candidate or whatever candidate. All of those who are in government, they are mandated from one sole center. Any talk about 2 center of power is just fabrication to cheat those people who don't follow matters. Anyone in government is mandated, and they remember, to be appointed as cabinet member, you have to be a member of parliament. Save 6 those who are selected by the president on the basis of their speciality or some kind of minority representation, or whatever you can call it. But the president cannot choose people out, may not choose people out of the people elected in parliament. Those who are elected in parliament, they are elected through their party. They are not elected as individual. As far as the National Assembly is concerned, you are elected as a party cadre. So when you are elected, it is not the government that vet you to go there. No, it is the party that vet you to say, yes, you qualify to stand and to go in the list of candidature for parliament. And the president has the obligation to choose from there. And the president's obligation that money derived from the SWAPO party. So there is no two center of power. There's only one center of power.
And I don't know if these reports have reached your desk, but there have been reports of a prominent business person that was involved in some violent scuffle with a campaign of a rival faction. What's your stance on violence as we go to the Congress?
No, of course, all our members are, of course, instructed, irrespective to which candidate they belong or support, to behave in a respectful manner, to avoid at all costs being involved in violence. So we all read from the social media about the action between members of the SWAPO, but we don't know exactly the details, what happened. Yeah, some people, of course, always have rushed to conclusion that the fight was because someone belonged to one group or another group, or not belong to one group. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they are fighting for grudge they have, or they hold one another for many different things, and that they belong now to different supporting camp. Maybe that is only a symptom that people are reading. We don't know. We don't know what is the details, why, what is their relationship. Personally, I don't know them.
And if you are to attain power, if you are to get to the position that you're vying for right now, how do you see yourself bringing back to the fold of SWAPO those people, those former SWAPO members in the South that have been disgruntled by the way government has handled the land issue? We saw the rise of Bernardo Swartboy and how he is steering some political upheavals from the South and taking quite a number of people away from SWAPO. How do you see your leadership healing this bridge?
Well, the story of Mr. Swartboy taking members from SWAPO, I'm not sure about that. Somebody must come up with validation that the group that is working with have been SWAPO members. But if there are only 2, 3 former SWAPO members, it doesn't make a dent. Personally, I started my campaign in the South. I've been in Kietmaswap. I have held meetings there. I was not told of a threat from Swartboy as far as the vote is concerned. I've been in many places, Komsberg, Noordhovel, Hausenke, Roshpina, Lideris. I've been all those people, but nobody's have told me about that threat. Not at all. Because it's one thing to get agitated, it's one thing to get angry with something, it's another thing to have followers, political, ideological, matured people to follow and to take a vote from SWAPO. It's totally different game.
Are you comfortable with the tribal representation within Team SWAPO? If we have to look at both of these teams, there's only one person that's coming from the Kavango area in both of your teams. If we look into Team SWAPO, there is Honorable Petrina Angula as well as Tim Hage.
What about Tim Hage?
It's the same situation, but in your team it's also appearing. Are you comfortable with that?
No, look, these things, nomination are open in SWAPO. Of course, our colleagues in Team Hage try to intimidate people not to come up with candidate. But if any candidate came up, there was nothing that Hage team can do to prevent anybody. So people who choose not to be nominated, not to make themselves available, and or to nominate people, it's their own making. It's their own making. For example, you can see, for example, now that there are 3 candidates vying for the presidency. There's not one female. But we keep on talking about empowering women. Who prevented anybody to nominate a woman candidate? There is nothing in the clause that said you cannot nominate a woman to be a candidate. In our election procedure, in our constitution, no mention of that. But of course, people restrain themselves. Why? They are not having self-confidence, maybe. One. Two, they make themselves commit to someone and therefore deny themselves an opportunity. So I cannot understand, certainly. Myself, I have gone to one or two women. I can never tell you their names. I ask them whether they are not ready to stand for the position of the Secretary General. And I say I'm ready to do something personally to campaign and to introduce to them as a running mate to the country. Of all the two women I approached, they denied. They say they are not ready for that position. And I said, but why? Because this is an opportunity. Even if you think you won't win, there is nothing to be taken away from you. Nothing at all. But you test the water. Maybe you won't win now. Maybe not the second time, but the third time, maybe you win. Because that's how things work. Keep trying until you win, until you succeed. So, in one of the meetings, we asked the women, we gave them 2 hours to go and caucus to see if they cannot come. Because it does not look nice. You have just women fighting for lower position. But we gave them a chance, 2 hours, go and caucus. Are you sure you are not ready to file a candidate to challenge these males? Maybe we'll vote you for the sake of, what do you call, sympathy. Not necessary because we think that you're the outstanding, but maybe say, as a women candidate among male, maybe we'll just give you our vote also. No, they came back and said the leadership have chosen one sole candidate. What is that, one sole candidate? Where do you hear it? There's no such a democracy. One sole candidate. We ask you to go and caucus and come up with a female candidate. Otherwise, stop blackmailing that women are not allowed. When you have the opportunity given, you yourself are declining it. So I'm saying this not to the ordinary women. I'm saying for those who are in top position, they have given opportunity, but they don't want to use that opportunity.
Mr. Angula, what's your last word to the delegates?
My last word to the delegates is that we all know the candidate's standing. We know the weaknesses of each candidate. Some will be given the responsibility. They could not keep the party together. They made themselves guilty of taking side when they are supposed to rally everybody together. They must vote for the candidate who has a cause to unite the people, a candidate who has the record of performing, a candidate who surely will not discriminate or will not form groups, but will emerge as a candidate that rally all the members together.
Mr. Angula, thank you so much for speaking to the Villager today.
Most welcome.